Hello everyone, this is Mr. Appel. Now we're going to take a look at number 2 here. So I've already calculated the slopes, and the first thing I notice is that the slope of AB and the slope of CD are the same. And I also notice that the slope of BC and AD are also the same. So that tells me that this thing is at least a parallelogram. So it's not a trapezoid. It is potentially a parallelogram, but now we need to check to see if it's anything more than that. So the first thing I'm going to test for is it a rectangle? Well, to be a rectangle, it would have to have right angles. In other words, the sides would have to be perpendicular. Well, when I look at any two adjacent sides, like AB and BC, for example, remember that perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals of each other. So if AB was 3/2, BC would have to be -2/3. And it's not, and therefore it's not a rectangle. So I can rule out a rectangle because it doesn't have right angles. Those sides aren't perpendicular to each other. And so if those aren't right angles, this also is not a square. Now the only thing left to check for is it a rhombus? Well, to be a rhombus, all the sides would have to be equal. So we already know the opposite sides are equal. I already know AB and CD are equal. So I just need to check any two adjacent sides. So if I try AB, for example, I'm going to find the length of AB. I'm going to find the distance between A and B using the distance formula. So it's the difference between the two x values. So that's -3 minus -1, or -3 plus 1 squared. And then the difference, so that's the two x values, and then the two y values are 4 and 1. So 1 minus 4, and I'm just going to simplify in there. So that's -2 squared, that's -3 squared, and -2 squared is 4, -3 squared is 9, and so AB is the square root of 13. So now I want to compare that to BC. So I'm going to find the distance between B and C, in other words, the length of BC, and see if it's the same. So the x values there, let's change color so we can see. So the x values are -3 and 1, so 1 minus -3, which is 1 plus 3. And then the y values are 1 and -2, so -2 minus 1. And we're going to simplify that. So 1 plus 3, that's 4 squared, and -2 minus 1, that's -3 squared. So that's the square root of, that's 16 plus 9. Oops, got a little extra there. And that's the square root of 25, which already I can see is not equal to the square root of 13. Now we should simplify that to 5, but again, 5 and the square root of 13 are not the same, which means not all the sides are equal, which means this cannot be a rhombus. And that leaves us with just a parallelogram. That's all for now. Thanks.